Well, good afternoon. This is Chandra Easton here from Living in Light. I'm an esoteric astrologer, starastrologyhealing.com. Just giving you a bit of an overview of planetary activity as we've moved into Aquarius. Now, I'm about a week late with this. The Sun moved into Aquarius on the 20th, 20th of January. I decided to cast this chart just for the heck of it for Kiev, Ukraine, because that seems to be the hotspot on one of the hotspots of the planet at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the 4 weeks that go from the 20th of January through till about the 20th of February as the Sun moves through Aquarius. So the first thing to notice really is that there are 4 planets in Aquarius. You can see them here. The Sun and Vulcan pretty close together. Vulcan's retrograde, the little letter R there, and Venus and Saturn very close together. So I'll talk about these two. It's impossible to talk about the Sun-Vulcan conjunction without talking about the fact that it's very close to Pluto. A good analogy for this is like travelling a bumpy road with nitroglycerin, and any bump in the road could set off the dynamic explosion. It's extremely explosive because it has the 2 planets associated with the first ray of will and power. That's Vulcan and Pluto, either side of the Sun. So of course this is the 20th to around about the 27th of January. That's last week, where we've had a mega cocktail of global political power like gelignite. Okay, so we've seen issues going off around the planet to do with NATO and the extra tanks that Ukraine's been asking for, but no doubt in any other place that you care to look at around the planet, you'll see that there's been volatile, powerful issues erupting from the deep subconscious self out. How we handle eruptions that come up and out, I don't know whether there have been any actual volcanic eruptions. I'm not up on that. It could be internal release of issues that you've been holding and buried, that have been buried, that are just erupting and coming to the surface. The best purpose, the best use of this triple conjunction, Vulcan, the Sun and Pluto, is to recognise subterranean power and to find a way of releasing without harming others and becoming empowered rather than disempowering to others. The other part of the Venus-Saturn conjunction here in Aquarius, the other part of the stellium, is this sense of allegiance and loyalty. And we have to all ask ourselves, to what kind of society do I want to live in? Where is my allegiance? Where is my loyalty to the society, to the groups, to the future of humanity, the future of our cities, our civilizations, our towns, and write letters, speak to politicians, refuse to go quietly with any erosion of the principles of democracy wherever you experience them. I think it was, and this conjunction here is very powerful because if we speak up, we have this is action and this is empowerment. And if we just take whatever's given to us on a platter without weighing it through the heart, then we do ourselves a disservice. I just came upon, just in the last day or two, the pandemic treaty, and this is the proposed pandemic treaty that the World Health Organization are putting to its 194 member countries, I forget which, and this basically puts more power in the hands of the few, who then effectively supersede the ability of nations to make decisions based on their national interest. It's sort of like lifts the bar up above the elected democratic processes and principles of these 194, I think it is, countries, and puts the power of control in the hands of a global organisation. So we really need to ask ourselves, is this the society, is this the world that we want to live in? Is this egalitarian? Does this foster democracy, or does it lead towards, the erosion of democracy? They're questions to contemplate with this allegiance. And of course the sign of Aquarius has got a great deal to do with the space race that's going on that nobody's talking about at the moment. It's been going on for many months, probably most of 2022 and continuing on into 2023. It's like, who dominates, who controls space, controls Earth. Because space is the frontier from which a digital surveillance or digital technology or, or anything that can be quantified down to the technological or the infrastructure of technology in order to be used. What we would like it to be used for is for the benefit of all, but what it may be used for is for the control of the masses. Whether this is who controls space, controls the planet, who controls the digital currencies, controls the nations. You could expand that, but we have to recognise that there is a war going on that's involving space and the digital realm, and organisations like the World Health Organisation and other organisations who have been established since the Second World War to foster goodwill. But whether these organisations are living up to their edict, or whether in fact they've been white-anted and corroded, we have to suspect that there's, a corrosion of power at the heads of governments and the heads of the multinational organisations on a very large global level. Okay, we also had last week, in this first week, a yod set up between a couple of planets in Capricorn, one of them being the Mercury, the other the Moon, down to Mars and down to the South Node in the 10th degree of Scorpio. And I've spoken about these degrees of the sign of Scorpio, and this being one of the degrees associated with fear, the Moon being connected to the masses, Mercury being connected to our capacity to have goals and achieve them. And, I look at this yod and I think, well, the goalposts are changing and it's triggering global fear if we allow it to. So maybe there have been goalposts changing in your life. You thought you were going this way, but now you're going that way. The best use of that yod is to refuse to allow fear to make our decisions. Yeah, don't allow the important long-term life decisions that you're making be made out of fear. Okay, the second week, I'll just move the chart forward just 1 second. I've got to open the right gizmo. I'll move it forward a week. There we have now, that's the 27th of January, that's yesterday, the day before, yeah. And this governs the second week of the Aquarian influence, and Venus has moved away from its tight conjunction with Aquarius, and it's gone into Pisces. Vulcan and Pluto are still sitting there like the gelignite that I explained. We're trying not to go into nuclear war, not to go into, an expansion of what is currently, NATO and Russia and Ukraine into something much more global. But we have a very, very delicate situation, and we'll continue to have this delicate situation as Vulcan and Pluto sit together. What else did I want to tell you about the second week? Uranus is in a 6th degree conjunction with the North Node, so the primary topic, the issue on the tips of everyone's tongues is the economy and the sustainability and the cost of petrol, and who's got a house and who hasn't, or who can afford food and who can't. And increasingly we realise that when one aspect of our society suffers for lack of basic resources or shelter, then we all suffer. Yeah. Hopefully, with these trines going through here, there is some economic reprieve happening, or some government policies or policies of larger organisations that can ease this burden of stress on a financial level. I know in Australia there's been a lot of talk, how many interest rate rises can we have before people have to sell their homes and they go to the wall. Hopefully in this week that we're in at the moment, very end of January into the first week of February, we'll get some kind of fiscal easing of those difficult situations. Yes, what else did I want to tell you about that? I'll move it forward one more week. So now I'm at the 3rd of February. And you'll see the Vulcan's moved off the very dangerous position with Pluto, but it's now transiting. Well, it's very close to the Sun and Vulcan, which are approaching and will transit across Saturn. So there will be some significant decisions that are being made on a global level that affect us all. They could be scientific decisions, they could be medical decisions, they could be decisions associated with technology, associated with the control of space that I've talked about. How that impacts you in your life really is to choose, vote with your feet. Where do you want to, which aspects of the society or community do you choose to engage in, and which aspects do you step away from? Do you step away from too much screen time? Do you step away from handing your digital data to everyone and sundry? Just small things that we can do, like for instance getting an encrypted email, removing yourself from the mailing lists that are following and tracking you, considering removing yourself from the big platforms that are, it's easy to lose ourselves in the digital world. Yeah, some people love it and they would embrace and want to step into the cyber zone and give up the interpersonal. Not necessarily a good idea. In this 3rd of February on, this is, what did I say, we're at the beginning of the 3rd week of the Aquarian energy. The Sun is forming a direct T-square with the Uranus. So there will be some issues around the 3rd of February that it's almost like, think of Uranus in Taurus trying to break stalemates. Stalemates of corruption in government, stalemates of money, the interest payments, and radical change needs to happen. So rather than waiting for externals, whether it's your boss or the union movement or the government or some global organisation to lead you, make the changes that you need to make your life sustainable. Maybe you decide to plant your vegetables. Maybe you downsize and sell that second car. Maybe you look carefully at the various financial hooks that drain your bank account and see what you can uncouple. So the message really is sustainable living. And if we follow the trine from Mercury in Capricorn across to Uranus in Taurus, then we set goals towards sustainable living. We cut down our power bills, we utilise the power of the sun, we do without, we give up extraneous shopping or the need to have things, and we work more with sharing, with community gardening, with things like that. So networking, and you'll see all the sextiles, the green lines that are running like a bit of a net of support around this week from the 3rd to about the 10th of February. And it really is encouraging you to connect into your local businesses, to your environment. Look, this could be your community garden, It could be shopping with people, small businesses where the profit gets circulated within the community. It could be refusing to engage with the mega corporations, I don't know, it could be the Bunnings of the world, it could be any other mega corporation where the money goes out and away from your nationality, your country. Yes, the past life point still sitting. Oh no, it's in 8 degrees. It's moved out of the degrees associated with fear, and it's in the degrees of money. So how we manage our money and our time and our resources and what we value and how we utilise them and how we share them and how we learn to live simply, it's just a global lesson for all of us. Okay, what else can I tell you? Here in this third week we have Jupiter moving towards a conjunction with Chiron in Aries. Well, the best of the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction is the capacity to go, roll up your sleeves. I won't pay someone else to do that. I won't outsource. I'll do what I can myself. It is to be accountable and sustainable and take independent action. Now, I don't know what that independent action is for you. It could be, building a house. It could be fixing your car. It could be walking to work. But taking and embracing and owning independent leadership within yourself rather than waiting for some external force to fix some problem in your life is a very good use of the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction in Aries. I suppose there is a warning. One must warn against haste with this combination, and so there's a bit of a message there that says kind of slow down, take your time, there's no hurry, don't rush headlong into anything. Okay, here we have the 3rd of February. I'll just see exactly when the, whoops, I've gone the wrong way there, exactly when the full moon is. And there it is. It's about Sunday the 5th of February, and of course I've got this targeted to the Northern Hemisphere because I'd scheduled it for the Ukraine, and you'll see that around the 5th of February we have the 3 planets in Aquarius square Uranus and square the moon and the earth, and so effectively here we have the full moon of Leo Aquarius. So there's a great opportunity around about the 5th of February to break through obstacles, to see things clearly, to find the courage within, to be the best that you can be, to say yes to things that represent your future and no to inertia or stagnation wherever you find it in your life. Powerful full moon energies around the 5th of February. Okay, I might just move on now onto that last week, the sun going, here's the sun now in the 21st degree of Aquarius, and you see these 3 planets. The sun and Vulcan are, did I go right there? Where was I? I've lost the plot, haven't I? I was on the 3rd, that's right. Yep, so now we have the week from the 10th to about the 17th or thereabouts, and we have this triple conjunction in Aquarius. So the volatility, the Vulcan that sits in the Aquarius is asking for ethical, long-range, organisational accountability. Yeah. So if you're not happy with if you don't feel that the organisation that you work for has ethics and accountability, well, look elsewhere. If you don't feel that the bank that you're banking with has ethics and accountability, look elsewhere. If you don't feel that your government has ethical, accountable plans, policies for the future, then speak out, write agitate. And I don't mean get into the street, I'm talking about, make your voice heard somewhere. Okay, because what we don't want to happen with the triple conjunction of the 3 planets in Aquarius is for large amorphous organisations that have nothing to do with us making major decisions that will affect us and the generations to come. Like, as I mentioned, the pandemic treaty. And I encourage you to have a look and see if your nation, your government is signing up to the pandemic treaty that gives more power to the World Health Organization to make decisions over and above the national interest, and decide how you feel about that. Okay, the South Node that's impacting us all is sitting here in the 7th degree of Scorpio. So it's still associated with money, So the pressure to have money flow in a way that benefits the individuals rather than benefits the triple conjunction. We don't want small groups of multinationals in control of our finances or our health. Thank you very much. We have Venus has moved on into Pisces, and it's approaching to 6 degrees away from Neptune. Now, the best of Venus-Neptune together is a compassionate, sensitive response to the spiritual realms or to the suffering of others. So let's not turn a blind eye to wherever suffering exists. Look, it could be the homeless person that you walk past rather than help. It could be that you're interested in volunteering somewhere and that you're looking for a place or a cause that has ethical, just organisational principles where you can put your compassionate heart. When Venus and Neptune are close together, and they get close together between the 10th and the 17th of February, we feel acutely suffering. Maybe it's your own suffering, or maybe it's your own yearning, or maybe it is the suffering of, it could be a loved one, it could be a complete stranger, but don't walk past suffering. And Venus-Neptune's fantastic for any devotional practices. This could be mantra singing, this could be prayers, this could be like we have an online meditation group. However and in whatever way you can send your heart and your good energy into places that it's needed. So devote yourself to that. The other thing to talk about here in this week, the 10th to about the 17th of February, is this very strong conjunction between Mercury and Pluto. It's virtually it's a combust Mercury-Pluto on the 10th of February. One of the dangers of Mercury being right up against Pluto is that we can be blind to a power or a takeover bid that's happening under our very eyes, but we just don't see it. Anyone who suggests, and it could be your boss or your ego or the government, that suggests that for the good of supposedly yourself you need to cede power and just don't worry about the details, just trust us and we'll take care of the big picture and you'll be safe. Governments use Pluto all the time to maintain control so that they stay, electable. And I think it's very common that in times of difficulty people tend to choose conservative governments because they believe that the conservative governments will keep them safe. Now, I've got no idea if there are any elections coming up around this sort of third week of February. But if there are, then just be aware and on the lookout for any paternalistic, power-hungry governments who promise to keep people safe if you just hand over more and more and more of the freedoms or the democracy. Yep, and unfortunately this blue line across, oh no, I beg your pardon, it's this dotted red line here that goes from Mars in Gemini up to the this conjunction of Mercury and Pluto, indicates that what you see is not what you get. It's almost like, what do they call it? Is it not the book 1984, where they talk about the double speak, propaganda? Well, global propaganda's down to a very, very fine art, and particularly in this third week of February, there'll probably be a lot of it. The spin doctoring. So it's very difficult to see beyond the forest to the trees. So, for instance, I'll give you an example here in Australia, where we have a national conversation that's really 200 years late in coming, about how about we begin to listen and give a voice to the First Nations Indigenous people who've been on this continent, this land, for 60,000 plus years. This is a conversation that's more than 2 centuries old, and now that it's finally seemingly a little bit closer to being enacted in law, to go, all right, okay, the Australian people will recognise and will listen, just listen to the voice of the First Nation people. There's a lot of spin doctoring going on, and a lot of attempt to sort of muddy the waters and confuse the issues, to the point that people will just go, well, hang on a minute, I'm not sure what's true anymore, so I'll just, rather than say yes to change, I'll stay with the safe option. So that's what not to do in the third week of February, is to stay with the safe option and be confused by the propaganda. Now, this could be the propaganda of governments, it could be the propaganda of your own ego that's muddying and confusing the waters for you, particularly around matters to do with money or security or loyalties. Yes. Okay, I'm going to move it one more week, and here we are now. You'll see the sun is almost leaving Aquarius, and in that last few days of Aquarius, 17th, 18th and the 19th, we've got not 3 but 4 planets in Aquarius. So the month starts with 4 planets in Aquarius, and it finishes with 4 planets in Aquarius. So the best of the Aquarian energy is an egalitarian, compassionate response to humanity, irrespective of colour or creed or race or wherewithal. The absolute worst of Aquarius is a reduction of everything down to a number. A bit like the social credit system that's been rolled out in China and is currently on the rollout across the globe in first world countries, so that everyone can be tracked and traced, and their needs are being reduced to a number. Yeah, missing the person, you're just a number. Very dangerous, in my opinion. The Venus-Neptune conjunction still sitting there with this need for accepting what we can't change, but putting our heart, our healing, our prayers, our compassionate service to places and people where we can make a difference. Pluto's still cliff-hanging in Capricorn, and Pluto's cliff-hanging in Capricorn right on the edge, backwards and forwards, all through 2023. Yeah, which power structures will fall, which will win. What we want is the heart of humanity to be activated, and the compassion to be activated, and the best of democracy to flourish. Yes. The transiting nodes are still sitting here in the 7th degree of Scorpio, right on the edge of physical comfort and money. So I could speculate that, and I just noticed the T-square running between Mercury in Aquarius and the nodal axis. That's Mercury in 8, North Node in 7, South Node in 7. Well, that's at 9 actually. Some people are going to have to make big decisions in this sort of there's 17th to the 19th of February, what they can and can't do, what they can and can't afford, how they will or won't use their money. And there will be, what we don't want is a ratification of policies or principles that we haven't had a chance to have a say in. Yeah? So we need accountability. We need accountability at the highest levels of government, highest levels of business, highest levels of banking, highest levels of who's making the decisions about what the petrol costs or what the food costs or what the land tax costs, or who's making the decisions about those people who can afford to eat and those that can't. Yeah, so there will be some fairly significant global decisions ratified around that time, 17th to the 19th of February. Let's hope that they are for the benefit of the individuals and the nations. Okay, I think that's all I might talk about of the sun moving through Aquarius in this sort of late January and up until about the 19th. I'll go forward a couple of days to see when it leaves Aquarius. So there it is, it leaves on Saturday the 18th. Anyway, that's your lot for the moment. Thanks for your time and consideration, and of course you can always get in touch with me if you'd like to understand about your own natal chart and the unfolding patterns and their soul impulses that can be read in the natal chart. This has been Chandra from Living in Light. Bye for now.